right. Welcome to the podcast. Mick is here today. He's held executive positions in organizations ranging from startups to Fortune 100 companies. He's got nearly 3 decades across several industries. He's looked at as an expert for helping companies aggressively scale, better manage their strategy and operations, or better sales and market their products and services. He's a CEO and partner at Rectify Partners Consulting, one of the Northwest's most sought after consulting firms. And he's also the CEO of venturecapital.org in Idaho. He's my friend. Mick, welcome, brother.
Hey, thanks, Jake. Pleasure to be here.
Dude, hey, new year, new you, man. How's the new year coming?
It's been great, man. I've got a day of skiing in yesterday, so that was good. Dropped 17 inches up on a local mountain, so good times by all.
Dude, it's been dumping the last.
Played some golf too. We were back at my dad's place in Phoenix, and with my son, got some good golf in. The kid kicked my butt a couple times. I got him one good one now, but I think he won overall, so it was all good. And then we got to go see the Christmas Day, the Warriors against the Suns game. My daughter hooked us up 11 rows up above from half court. So yeah, it was all good.
Oh, dude, that's a beautiful thing. The Warriors game on Christmas Day.
Yeah, I always seen it and you're like, that looks so much freaking fun. It's like a bucket list thing. I gotta do that thing. And man, it was festive. It was, COVID, whatever. It was, people were having a good time, and yeah, the game was great. We're big Warriors fans, so the Warriors kind of squeaked one out. And huge Klay Thompson fan. Went to school at Washington State with Klay, so shout out to Klay. And my daughter knows him. And there's a local kid out of Boise State, Chandler Hutchinson, that plays now for the Suns. Was with the Bulls, so Chandler and his family were there. So that was cool.
Man, that's awesome. Hey,
yeah, we're sports got people. I mean, we love a little activity, a little action, and yeah, we bounce around. We got a chance. And my wife took me to Wrigley Field last year for some baseball. We saw the Giants a couple times, bombed over to the Mariners, and yeah, next year we're hitting Boston and then the Yankees, and yeah, doing the tour.
Spending some time traveling, journeys abroad, looking for some sports games. You do. What else do you do when you're traveling? You golf?
Yeah, golf. Just kind of take it in. I like to get a couple hikes in and stuff too. Get active, and in restaurants, whatever. It's fun to try out different food and different, just social places. So yeah, it's cool.
Well, brother, you've got a pretty impressive career here in different roles and things that you've kind of found yourself doing over the years. I'd love for you to maybe take me back kind of to the beginning. Have you always wanted to be like an executive leader, consultant, investor, those types of things, or did that kind of find you along the way?
I look back and I always knew I wanted to run my own company. Or lead in somebody else's company. I always knew it's somewhere I was going to be in an executive role. But for me, it was like, and came up through sports, and I think a lot of my leadership skills came from sports. I know they did. And I look back at that, and it felt like to me, I had to like conquer like every position first before I knew I was ready to, to go big at the executive role. So for me, it was like one of those that my first job coming out of college, and I was fortunate. I got to play baseball at Washington State University. I had a scholarship there in Gonzaga to play ball. And yeah, it was great. I loved it. Had a fantastic time. Go Cougs. And the end of the day, my first job was working for the Boeing company. And I was blessed. Alan Mullally was one of my mentors, and Alan was the president for commercial aerospace and then the CEO for Ford. So I was young and dumb in my early 20s, and somehow I got asked to sit in Alan's staff meetings, and then he put me through their 2-year leadership program, sent me to Asia for a couple of years, paid for my MBA. And yeah, I look back and wow, did all that stuff happen. They hooked us up with these consultants, Jake, you dig on this, especially with your background. It's called Shingizitsu Consulting. Top 7 guys that ran Toyota, all in their mid 70s. They all had retired. Boeing literally paid him millions of dollars. Probably get in trouble for saying that, but allowed us to get into all these companies and go study them. So I was in Hitachi, Mitsubishi, Toyota, Mercedes, Hyundai. Wow. The list goes on. and my tour of duty for a couple of years. And then we would study best practices, how they went to market, their sales strategy, marketing strategy, supply chain, manufacturing, safety and health. Then we'd bring those best practices back to Boeing and implement them. So it was a crash course on just how to go grow and scale a business.
That's incredible, man. And you know, I've got I want to say similar because obviously it wasn't at scale at the Boeing company, but you know, I was at St. Luke's and had saved them some money on a print services program. And Dr. Pate had just become the CEO at St. Luke's here in Idaho, and he brought with him consultants that focused on lean manufacturing, former Toyota guys that have been consulting in healthcare space for a long time. And I got to spend about 2 years understudying that group. And that's kind of how my career started to take off as well, where it's, you know, you're really, really closely tied to business process and asking questions and learning to ask really good questions and getting anchored into why. And I attribute so much of my perspective in business today on those early days of just getting my hands on the problem space.
Yeah, and that was us too. We all got certified in Lean Six Sigma, and it taught you just how to be efficient. And they taught you, and they trust me, it was boot camp. I mean, these guys, you go to midnight with them. You know, first thing you do is with financials, and then at like 9:00 p.m. and it's all through interpreters. They'd bring you into a room, and it was the top guys that they were grooming to go run the Boeing company. So there was 20 of us, you know, plus or minus, but then they'd be yelling and screaming at you in Japanese and about muda and waste, and you know, you weren't good enough that day, and you know, it was all through an interpreter. And it was funny because there was a gentleman, Phil, he ran the missile program for Boeing out of Colorado, and he was a young dude like I was, and he's like, Mick, this is how this is going to work. He says, you just got to think, you know, yes, sir, may I have another, you know, and as they're screaming at you, but they'd like break you down. And then the next day you had to redo it again and you just get better. So I look back at those like, that was just friggin' nuts. And we traveled all throughout Japan. I was in Taiwan, Singapore, China, Hong Kong. I mean, it was like, if I never see Asia again, I'm good. I do want to go check out Thailand though, but.
Oh, for sure. So then how many years were you at Boeing then?
Almost 10. I tapped out at 10. It was like, it was one of these where either you're going to be a 30-year dude or you're not. And I just looked at their leadership thing, and it was like, they did a lineup one night in the boardroom, and it was like 12 of the executives. And I just looked, and it was weird. And I'm just being honest. That's how I do biz, is that, you know, the first guy I looked at, I think, man, you've been divorced twice. Next dude was an alcoholic. The next one I was sure was sleeping with his assistant. The next one was divorced. The next one I didn't know. And it was like, I just wasn't raised that way. And I'm thinking, I don't know if I want to, you know, they made it really clear they're going to tattoo you Boeing first. So they owned you. And then from there, you know, it's family, religion, family, whatever you want to do. And it was like, I think I'm going to try something different. And I did. I lucked out. I actually, got to work in Craig McCaw's organization for McCaw Wireless, and Craig was a pioneer in mobile, dude. They were the early guys when the mobile industry kicked off out of Seattle, and at the time they were getting acquired. They were going to do an IPO for AT&T Wireless, and they needed somebody to go run B2B. They never sold into businesses, and they're like, we know there's money in there. You know, we should go land these big companies and sell into. It was always the family plan or consumer thing. And so I got a chance to jump and go through an IPO and launch AT&T Wireless. And people always thought it was AT&T, but it wasn't. We bought the brand for 5 years. Not many people know that, but we rode that brand and we paid a lot of money for it. And then after 5 years, we either had to be AT&T or we had to be something different. But that's how we started, because we knew it was a trusted brand. And we went from 14 billion to 41 billion in 5 years, dude. We put an engine in there. They broke us out in 3 teams. Top guys running the company threw us in another separate building. We worked on all the processes. We hired a bunch of consultants. We had a culture consultant. Who would have thought that, man? That was back in the freaking 2000 to 2005, so a while ago. So the vision was, Jake, it was really to have this phone, be able to point it at a Coke machine, push a button, it charges your phone the money, and the Coke drops. And that was 2000, dude. And that was before we were doing text messaging. I remember the days of the early, and I'm old, to your point, Ben. It was like, I remember when we text message in the US, we were over in Asia trying, and we were in Europe trying, and people were texting. I'm thinking, hell yeah, we'll text. And it's like, what do we charge? We had no idea. We just swung it.
10 cents a text. That's what it felt like back.
All I know is the data team, that their bonuses that first year, they killed it. They made like 300%. And then the management's like, oh, we can't pay that much the following year. We need to dial this in.
God, it's so funny to think about. My wife and actually, we were talking about this the other day when we first started dating. We had those Nokia, those little brick phones, the
Mhm.
blue ones with the, whatever. And
Funny.
you were
Oh,
on
you gotta
a,
kept all those things, man.
I think we actually, I might still have them in a closet here. I got most of our old phones just as, one day I'll have like a shadow box of like the history
Yeah,
of phones.
like time capsule.
But she, like we would only text on nights and weekends. Like after 7 p.m. you had to that was when you were going to text and not get
Oh, no
charged.
way.
Yeah,
Okay. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
that was the phone plan. It was either, 10 cents a text or 5 cents a text or 200 text messages, and then they charge you, and then you get nights and weeks. They were complicated plans, man. It was a wild west out
Oh, I
there.
know, dude. They would give us free phones every week. I had a new phone, and it was like, fuck, I didn't want a new phone because then you had to go figure it out. I would give it to my kids and say, go figure that damn phone out, and
Oh,
they kind of would, but it was like, all right, yeah, those are fun days, man. And they were a party. And when we went through the IPO, though, once you flipped on the other side for Wall Street, it was a different. I mean, there was pizza, and I mean, it was like a booze fest. And then we went IPO. It was like everything got locked down, so the fun kind of went away. But it
yeah.
was a rocket ship, and I learned some of the business models, like LB Gups, and I know we talked a little bit, but the LB Gups was one that I had one guy, my first employee, that was a consultant, and he's like, "Dude, let's do LB Gups." I'm like, "What is that?" He goes, "That's how you scale business." And I said, "Okay, what is it?" So he goes, "Think about your customer experience, and it doesn't matter if you're selling through retail, you're selling online, however you're doing through resellers, channel partners, but it's really the L is how you learn about your product." And think about all the touch points that people learn. The B is ultimately how do you buy your product? You get it through a store, they shipping it to you. And then the G is ultimately getting you. How are you physically shipping it to you, picking it up at a store? The U is basically how are you using it? So it's all the tips and tricks like I was talking about. But all those are different touch about. And then the P is the pay. How are you paying for it? If it's a big company, they're usually going through a PO process, or versus, you're doing through Square or whatever, PayPal. Um, and the last is just the support, the S, and how do you support that product? And that was a model that I've used probably in, geez, I don't know, probably 3 or 4 companies now, maybe 5. And it just works. I learned a ton with that.
Yeah.
And there's other stuff that I've just learned through the process. And my next gig after that, I spent 5 years there. We sold it to Singular for a ton of money. And people are like, Singular, that was back in the day, that big orange company. It was kind of a
Yeah.
mob bell. And it's like, I don't know. I'm a continuous learner. It's like, dude, what am I? It felt like old school. And I'm thinking, I ain't gonna learn anything. And they, oh, you're blessed. You got your role. And yeah, whatever. And then I got my first startup. I got to work for gentleman, Stuart DePina, Stuart freaking stud, Paul Allen's right hand guy. When Paul left Microsoft, he started Vulcan Ventures, and then he started Ticketmaster, and Stuart ran Ticketmaster for him. And he had a startup in Seattle, and he called me one day and said, "Dude, you want to come help me scale this? Either going to do an IPO, or we're going to sell it to, PE or VC firm." And I'm thinking, I looked at him and said, "What's in it for me?" And I said, "I don't care about the money." He's like, "Dude, I've done 155 acquisitions." He goes, "I'll mentor you. Let's go buy 4 companies in 2 years, and you can go run those." And I'm like, all right. He used to play football he used to play football for Texas. And that's kind of
uh,
how he led too. I
uh,
think he was a
all
safety or
right.
linebacker. He'd run through you. Looks a little bit like Tiger Woods. I shouldn't tell him that, but his dad was African American, his mom was Asian, and
Yeah.
good dude, charisma. I mean, Alan Mullally, that I got to work with. Alan had a hell of a lot of charisma, and Stewart did too. Stewart was a little more introverted, but he was freaking wicked smart, and he's just a great dude. Matter of fact, I got a nice Christmas text from him. So anyhow, great dude.
Yeah, that's killer. So you AT&T, I mean, kind of working through that, you said whatever organization you were working with got bought out by Singular eventually. Then you get into
Startup. I got
this,
the fever.
you got a startup fever.
Yeah, we went from, I think I was employee 39 to 325 in 2.5 years, from 20 million to grew it to 110 million. We ended up selling it to private equity company, Vista Capital, out of Texas. And yeah, it's true. I thought, yeah, well, whatever, we'll buy 2 companies. No, Frick, we bought 4, dude. And it was crazy. Those were some, I've had some crazy times. You get a startup and things that get kind of squirrely. But yeah, it was fun. I learned a lot from Stuart and that team too. It was like my test bed to go try a bunch of stuff.
Well, startups, 10, 15 years ago, very different from startups today. It feels like
Agree.
there's a lot of startups these days. It feels like it's an easier thing to do is to start a business or to start a technology based business and have a lot of hope that it'll work out. Um, like what's your thought? Like looking at startups from when you were working in them to now, like what's changed or what's changed your perspective?
I think they're more structured now. I mean, you don't get me wrong. When you get in startup, you're still in the Wild West, but there's more, and I've been doing them for shit, probably 20 years now. Close to that, but there's more eyeballs on it. You used to be able to just do what you do, and make stuff happen. But now everybody's trying to, now that you get to a SPAC or I want to do an IPO. And I think it was back then, it was more just, we got a great idea. Let's just
Mm,
freaking roll up our sleeves and see what we can do with this bad boy and ride it out, and who knows? And let's go do our best to get some good talent. Back, in the late 90s, you get in the early 2000s, and options, they were throwing a bunch of options every which direction too. So everybody was chasing that sucker to, I was your Willy Wonka golden ticket, man. So, but trust me, I could wallpaper enough walls around my house with freaking options. I could. Some of
yeah.
them panned out. Some like the IPO and in 18. I bought a brand new nice friggin' four-wheel drive truck and some other stuff when we did the IPO at AT&T Wireless. So I cashed out a little bit, but yeah, and other stuff I got paid out well. I mean, we sold that company and everybody did good, and it's still the company's growing and thriving, which is cool. It's just like new, you just pass the title on to somebody. But yeah, I think it's a little more structured now, and there's a lot more eyeballs. The money's changing hands too, in regards to they're giving a lot more money than they used to. It's stupid right now, how much money comes into these things. There's just way too much money on the sideline too.
Yeah, I feel like I've never seen a time where there's so many like I got a phone call from a dear friend of mine the other day who just got $1 million in investment into her company. And I'm just like, congratulations. Like that's wild. But this is not, I've had 3 conversations in the last 3 or 4 months of people just finding funding and finding people who believe in them and trying to be a part of the kind of the next big thing. And it seems like maybe it used to be a little more rare uh, than it is now. And to your point, there's like there's several different models of growing these startups where maybe it used to be a little bit more organic. Like,
Yeah. The funny part though, Jake, is that through, I don't know, probably, I was counting them the other night. I don't know, I've probably done a dozen startups, and I've seen literally, oh God, I don't know, 500,000 of them. I see 50 a year probably, especially now being a new CEO for venture capital org. And I haven't really announced that yet. So I got to get that out there. But it's kind of like Shark Tank. I've been seeing a bunch for years, and you try to help them the best that you can. I think a lot of it is really, it's their story, and they have to get a way to tell the story. But it's also how they go. I always look at the management team, and you watch these things, you learn and you listen. But at the end of the day, and I invest a lot in the stock market on the side, but I'm always looking at that management team first. Then
yeah,
I'm looking at you're only as good as your product or your service too. And trust me, you've got a great management team, but if your product or service sucks, you're not going far. You can keep that shiny object for a little while, but when you combine them both together and you got something, and then you put a package together where you get the right people on it, man, those are fun. There's a local guy here, Faisal Shaw. I like Faisal. Shout out to Faisal. Faisal's a stud too. I think it's fourth company. His last one he sold for like 400 million or something like that. I got a chance to help him scale the one they're in now. And yeah, there's some great people over there. They continue. We raised, I mean, it seems like not much money, but we raised 10 million for a company out of Chicago to get them to work, to get the talent along with the product roadmap to the next level. So yeah, it's fun. He's a good dude, and it's just heart's in the right spot. There's a lot of really cool stuff going on in Boise right now. It's exciting. We're early. I think it's second, third inning.
yeah.
A lot of talent coming into town too.
So when obviously you're walking in with so much experience when you start talking to some of these early stage startups, like what surprises you or like what do you anticipate is the blind spot? Like where are people usually like missing some context or some understanding about the process that they're in?
Well, the biggest thing that turns me off and our egos. first
Mm.
of all, because you see it, and it's like people feel like that you owe them something, and it's like, I've never been a title guy, and I've never been an ego. I don't have one. I just, why? It's a waste of energy. And it's like, who cares, but I think the thing that, it's the process, and it's a journey, and it's not the quick easy button. So it's one of those, you watch any of these companies typically that have went public. I mean, they've been around 6, 8, 10, 12 years, and it's a journey, and you got to be willing to shut stuff off just as much as to turn stuff on and pivot quickly. The toughest part is the people piece of it, and making it all gel and work together. And so I think people think that it's, yeah, we can just push the gas pedal down and go. It doesn't work that way, man. And especially if you don't have the right people, the right processes in place, and you get this better than anybody, Jake, to be able to scale that business. I always look, when I was doing my MBA, it stuck with me, and that was a long time ago. They always said, if you're going to run your own business, small to mid-sized business, use the 4 Fs. And it comes to me, it's like, what, 4 Fs? And think about this. It is being fast. You want to be fast is number one. Number two is you want to be friendly, number three is you want to be flexible. And the last one is focused. So fast, friendly, flexible, and focused. And we put all 4 of those things together, some really good stuff happens. So that was a little bit of what I've seen. And I always hire like 3 E's. I try to keep it simple, dude. Maybe I just go through the alphabet.
Yeah, I can see you've just got a whole bunch of like alphabet
But it's
soup on the wall. Remember the
but it's all
LG
a
Gup
process
and
to go grow and scale, be successful. And the 3 E's is energy, experience, and enthusiasm. And if you've got the energy and enthusiasm, I can teach you the experience. If you have the experience, you got all 3, great. But I can't teach you energy and enthusiasm. You either bring it, brother, or you don't. And that's those team skills. That's that working together. That's willing to. I'm a risk taker, willing to put your freaking neck out there and try. If you're gonna fail fast. So it's that LB Gups model I talked about. I'm trying to pass this on to others. Those 3 E's, the 4 F's. The other one that Alan used a ton, Mullally. And dude, he killed it. Everybody said, "Oh, you can't be successful at Ford. You don't know automotive. You're aerospace, dude." Frick, Alan was a master of all, and he knew unions well. I mean, we studied unions. You had to play in the union. My first gig when I was at Boeing there was a gal named Liz Otis that worked for Alan. She ended up being the president after I had left. And Liz is like, "Mick, you're like this visionary dude." She's like, "You see things different. You're unique." And I'm thinking, I do. For whatever reason, I'm just wired. I see the future. I do. And then it's like, but she's like, "You need to understand details. I want you to understand details." So next thing you know, boom, 2 weeks later, I'm running a manufacturing plant. I got more people that had age than I had experience, man. And
yeah.
it's a union run shop. And as I had the union steward in my shop, and it was like, you can only do so much with those guys. You had to figure out, how do I get results? And Alan always had his STPs. And I was like, and he would, because everybody would be yipping and yakking about stuff. And it was like, what's the situation? What's the target? And what's your proposal? And he'd make you write it down before you started just whining about something. By the time you wrote those 3 things down, situation, the target, and your proposal, you mostly figured it out yourself. And he had these 10 commandments he would run the company off of. I wish I wrote them all down. But the one that always stuck out with was, it was funny, dude, because I'm in this room, like I said, I'm in my 20s, and there's all these old people, 50, 60, I'm one now, but I'm thinking, he always would have to announce, "I'm whining." So you had to raise your hand and say, "I'm whining," but then you'd have to say, "I'm whining with a plan." And it made you think through, okay, I'm going to spill this stuff out of there, but here's my plan of how I'm going to fix it. And he changed the culture about that company that way. And then he did the same thing for freaking Ford. So I learned a ton from those people, and I'm just blessed to have the opportunity. So whatever I can do to share to others,
Yeah.
I'm all in.
I love that. The STP, I'm going to steal that for sure.
I've used it through the time with a lot of my leadership teams, and it stops, especially in manufacturing, man. It just stops you to think. But yeah,
I
there's mentors have been. If you can find yourself a great mentor, latch on. You gotta be careful though. I mean, I only have so much time in a day, so I'm very selective on the people that I work with on stuff. And unfortunately, I would love to work with a ton more. But it's really important to give back.
Yeah. I had, adding into, you've thrown out a couple different like kind of frameworks and simple things and turns of phrase here. I picked up one last year or the year before from a guy who's a president of a animal health company. His name's Mark. And he used to say, if you oppose, you must propose. And that was one of my favorite. And I, obviously maybe he stole that from somewhere else or whatever, but that stuck with me as from a leadership style. Is like, hey, it is not it's not wrong to be the opposition to something that we're doing, but you need to tell us how you see it, and you need to tell us in a way that like gives us something actionable to move forward. And you can't just sit here and whine about stuff. So kind
Yeah.
of in that whining with a plan.
Well, and you got to be accountable, and the thing that my management style and leadership style has always been, I mean, I'm player coach. I like to play just as much as I like to coach, but it's end of the day, it's like, what is your role? What are your expectations? And I don't mind having that eyeball to eyeball, heart to heart kind of conversation on stuff. And I think what I've learned through time is I've become a really good listener. And I sucked at the beginning. I thought I knew a lot, and I would share a lot, but it wasn't, man. And the more my grandfather was the one that told me, and he said, I always called Mickey. He named me when I was born. He was like, it was Michael, but it was like, nah, we're gonna name this kid Mickey after Mickey Mantle. And so I guess he set the bar pretty high as a kid, I guess.
Yeah,
I look back, but he was the one. He ran some real successful businesses, and he's like, Mickey, he says, be a good listener. You have to be able to sift through the bullshit and the truth. But if you get good at it, you can learn a lot, And I always respect my elders, so that was one of those that I got good at over time. And I think the thing with people and just leading teams and companies is, people want to be thanked. They want to say, thank you for doing a great job. They want to be appreciated. It's not all about the money. It's not. It's about tell them thank you, and then they have great ideas. I know you've worked with me a little about some stuff, but it's like, I would say, if you're king for the day or queen for the day, and it's your business, your company, your organization, what would you do? What's success? I'm a big Stephen Covey guy. What's success end in mind look like? This year's over. We're already into next year. What's that look like? Reflect a little bit, set a vision, set a tone, and get after it. Have some fun, man. Enjoy the journey. Why
absolutely.
wouldn't you? I
Why wouldn't
mean,
you?
fuck, life's way too short. I mean, I play hard, trust me. If I kick it tomorrow, I'm good. I mean, I've had a great ride and I've done a lot, and I've got some fantastic kids and my wife's awesome. But yeah, it's like, have some fun, man. It's just work, dude. At the end of the day, I always look at it, unless you're like a brain surgeon or you're curing cancer, end of the day, it's a freaking job. Not no disrespect to any of that, but it's just work. So have fun, enjoy the journey, enjoy the people around you, and make a difference.
So the way that you had business mentors, I mean, obviously you threw some names out here, just, savages, right? I mean, these people are running like big multi-billion dollar companies. You get mentored through the process of working for them, executing things, being in formal leadership programs. When it comes to life, I mean, that I think that's where people struggle. I mean, you have, what's always struck me about you, at least in the couple of years that I've known you, is that what you just riffed on, that personality style, is just, man, like, let's just have some fun and all that good energy. Have you always had that, or did you get mentored in that way, or did you have a perspective shift some way? Like, talk to me about that balance or that flow of life.
Yeah, that's a great question. Because coming out of school as a freaking young engineer, and then when I they sent me through my MBA, and my MBA changed me from a business perspective, and it was got me more thinking about how you make money, and then it was from a people family balance perspective. I was always pretty grounded on, my dad ran the FDA and all the labs for the government, and I watched him in his career, and he did well. And my uncle ran the space station, dude, for NASA. I was named after him, Dr. Michael Wiskurgeon. Talk about a freaking high bar for NASA. Ran the space, and my uncle used to always tell me, he's like, Mickey, again, Mickey, he goes, there's three things in the life. The first can be you pick, but it's your health. If you're not healthy, you can't help others. So for me, it's always my health. He goes, the second one, you pick, it can be religion, it could be family, religion, whatever. And the third one is don't work for assholes. And that was his motto. It's life is too short. Get away from negative people. Get around positive people that bring a passion, bring a high level of energy. There's too many jerks, even with rectified partners. Our number one rules, we don't work with jerks. I don't have patience or time for that. For me to do the balance, so to your point, I don't know. To me, it was never about money. I knew it would come if I chose the right decisions. And I had a gentleman, Tom Herman, complete stud. He's been kind of a life mentor for me, and call him Tommy Boy. And Tommy's done well, but he would stop me from doing stupid shit. I mean, he really would. And I could talk to him about, here's what I'm trying to do. Tom would always push me on the work side, like, dude, stop focused on the next gig. What's the second gig from that? He goes, that's your true north, where you're headed. And if because you all of a sudden people start putting shiny objects in front of you and you want to go jump or go chase that thing. But does that really get you where you want to go? So I've always had like a 5 and a 10-year plan. And even when I showed Liz that for Boeing, she's like, Jesus, really? You've already thought through all that stuff? I said, yeah. And then she goes, okay. And then I would back into what I want to accomplish. I've done the same thing in life with goal setting. Every year I set my goals, man. And I've been doing the last probably 15 years I go skiing. I go find a bluebird day after a nice freaking dump of powder. And I go by myself, and then I set my goals on the chairlift. Dude, I'm bringing my phone out. I'm writing notes down. I'm checking what happened last year. What do I want to raise the bar on this coming year? And I've always got goals around family, around friends, about entertainment, having fun. And then there's some work stuff. There's some financial stuff in there. But for me, it's been a balance. But it's been a soul thing. I mean, I used to surf every day as a kid. I was a skateboard punk. I skated a ton. I mean, I've always enjoyed just having fun, why not?
Yeah. I was,
And it's money. To your point, Jake, sorry to cut you off, dude, but
no, you're good.
Somebody along the way told me, Mick, it's just freaking money. If you want more money, go freaking make more money. Stop like fascinating over this thing. It's just, and maybe it's Tom, I don't even remember it. But it's just fucking money. So if you want to, it is. So if you need more money, go get creative and go get it. That shouldn't control your freaking destiny or your life, though. And I've always been one of these and I've lived in California long enough to see it. And, and it's all about the shiny stuff and the objects and stuff people can buy. And it's like, yeah, but does that really bring happiness? People and relationships bring happiness.
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely. Also, I've never seen, Daniel Tosh said this. I've never seen anyone frowning on a jet ski. So money doesn't buy happiness, but I've never seen anyone frowning on a jet ski.
One of my best friends was a jet ski racer, dude. Back in the day, those guys are nuts, man.
It's a wild,
but it's a journey, man. It's even my son. A shout out to Chase, and pro snowboarder, man. I traveled the planet with that kid, and so proud of him, man. It's just different levels, man. You just gotta take it in, enjoy it.
Yeah. So then what do you, I mean, you said you're out here on a chairlift, you're enjoying the Bluebird day, you're coming up with your goals, which by the way, I love, like probably one of the best ways anyone's ever explained their personal strategic plan. Go do something that you love, take little breaks from doing that and think about how you're going to, so like me, when I sit down to do my goals or my plans, cause I'm a planner too. I do it in my office. I need to be doing it after I do jujitsu. I need to be doing it after I do something that like really fills my cup, because then I'll be in a really positive mindset. And then I won't think that they're things that I have to do. They're things that I get to do in order to enjoy the things that I love.
Yeah. When we were living in Seattle, I'd go for a hike. I'd go somewhere where I could just get out in the open and just clear my head, man. And if I'm driving there, I'm thinking about stuff, in my head, I'm thinking, all right, I'm thinking, okay, here's some of the stuff I'm thinking about. But once I get up there and I get on a tall peak and I'm just looking over a freaking valley or a canyon or freaking mountains, and it's like, you just pause, clear your mind, man, and just take it in. And it's, there's no real right or wrong. It's just trying to get you centered in what you think. And it's so near term too. When you think about it, it's just like, a year is like freaking that. Yeah. So I always do the stretch goal stuff too. Now, I mean, I go through, like I said, a 3-year, 5-year type of thing and those are the directional things that help you kind of keep focused. And then I sought out, and part of my journey, dude, I'll write a list of people that I want to go talk to. I'll have the 5 to 10 the people that I want to just give a shout out. I don't care if I just pick up the phone or shoot them a text or, and spend some time with them too. Why not? They
Well, see,
enjoy that.
so we've talked a little bit about kind of what's next and planning and those kinds of things. You've had this awesome career. You've done all kinds of really interesting things thus far. You've kind of settled in right now with Rectify and venturecapital.org. And like, what excites you about the kind of work that you're doing today?
I think it's the passion piece of giving back, and it was like a startup we were talking with yesterday. I think we're going to sign a deal with it. And we'll have a percentage ownership of the company, which these guys are, I mean, I think the gentleman, one of the founders, said they've been doing it for 27 years and they have this formula, and it's, a healthcare product, and it's like, and it really helps people. So it's like, if you can lock into something that's helping people, or their families. And I'd say my attitude in any job that I've had or any company I've led, if I can personally spend some time and help somebody and their family, dude, how awesome is that? How rewarding is that? So for me, it's more about giving back. And, shout out to Gordon Jones, going to be our new president for College of Western Idaho. I was texting him last night. It's like, dude, whatever I can do to help you, thinking about the multiplier effect of that. And everybody that's either going into college or they're retooling, repurposing, they're stoked about what the future is. You got a guy that's a big thinker, like Gordon out of Harvard, smart dude. Yeah, good things are coming. So I think I'll probably participate in some stuff like that just as much as, some of the startups. And I'm, like I said, I'll surround myself with positive people that get it. And then there'll be people that are trying to find their way, and I don't mind spending time with them if I can personally help them on that and balance stuff.
Well, hey, you've got let's say you've got a crystal ball in front of you right now, and you're looking at the way that the world is transitioning. There's a crazy capability when it comes to automation. We've got more data at our fingertips than we've ever had before. Business intelligence is absolutely huge. We've got kind of an international, I would say, supply chain crisis, if you will, if I can add the crisis word to different things. Like, you look at the business climate today, the world today, like, what do you see in your crystal ball? Like, what kind of skills, capabilities, mindset should we have around some of this stuff?
Well, and I think things, like I mentioned before, I think you have to have an attitude of failing fast. You got to test, and you got to learn really quickly. And then from there, I think for people, even when I go in for Rectify, when we go look at businesses, I always study their competitors first.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like, who are you doing? And a lot of people are like, oh, I don't know, there's such and such, and yeah, I think these guys do this or that. But dude, it doesn't take a lot of energy to go study the competitors just as much as it does the market, that's out there, and get after that kind of stuff. So I think part of that is really technology is a friend. If you embrace it, there's a lot of it that's out there, but you set some key performance indicators in place that you want to go measure. It's not freaking rocket science. It's not, it's business. So my suggestion to people is focus on your metrics, keep it simple, fail fast, and listen to what the market's telling you, and wrap yourself around what your competitors. So either your competitors, you could be somewhere you want to go buy them, or at least you want to be aware of them and what they're doing, and it's like I said, it isn't rocket science, but if you do those 4, 5, 6 steps, really good things will happen. And then the last one is the people, embrace it, go put your neck on the line and promote what you're selling or what you're producing. And if it's really good, you should be able to attract really good talent and take care of those people. Shut up and listen to them.
Hell yeah, man.
I had to write that book. Just shut up and listen.
Shut up and listen. Well,
have some fun though, too, dude. Friggin' push the gas pedal down. I always call it the lug nut test, but if you push that gas pedal down, you'll see, man, that front end of that car, you're 30, 35, it'll start shaking. You're thinking, oh shit, I don't have the right people, the process, or the tools aren't right, and then start figuring out why.
Yeah.
And then go tighten some of those things down and push it down again. You hit 50, 55, and you're cruising, and also start shaking again. There's a why. And next thing you know, dude, you're blasting a 70 plus, and ride it out.
I love it. Well, has the over all the years that you've been in business, has your golf game gotten better?
That's a good one. Yeah, I don't know. It goes in streaks. One of those It's fun, but you're always good as how much
Dude,
time you put into it, you
I
know?
I love golf so much, and I play like twice a year, and I always get frustrated because I'm like, there's a good golfer hiding in me somewhere, man. There's there's a guy who can move the ball and play, but
Well,
he doesn't show up quite all that often.
a lot of it's mental too. I mean, trust me, I get up there. I vision the first thing when I was playing ball for Washington State is that you'd get in the box and you couldn't blink. There was a dude that would watch you, and if you blinked, there's a big ass hill behind the stadium. You were running that friggin' hill if you blinked. So the whole thing was just that, your eyes were wide open, you're just focused, you're locked in. It's all mechanical. You're going through your steps. It reminds me of my son and his pro snowboard, and everything is so mechanical at that level. And you're 100, 110 feet in air flying upside down. But it's the same thing, I think, in business too, is you've got to have that focus and that vision. And then from there, you just put a plan together and start executing, man, put the right metrics in place. So, but yeah, the golf game my vision's really good. The mental part, I got dialed. Yeah. No, I'm still whatever. I'm not
Yeah,
single digit handicap, but I ain't far from it.
no, I'm just giving you a hard time, man. It's one of those deals. Anything else, man? Anything top of mind? Anything you're really excited about this year, or what you've got going that you're excited about?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things. One is I think there's just venturecapital.org, shout out to that organization. They've been doing stuff for since the 70s from a leadership program out of Salt Lake, and they've scaled, billions of dollars of companies. They want to continue to grow and expand in Idaho. And take some of the lessons that they've learned. So I'm really stoked about that opportunity. It's going to be a lot of work, but I'm pretty stoked. If there's a lot of really talented people here and outside within my network that I think I can tap into, and we can go build something really special for the next 10 to 15 to 20 years from here. So that's a big one. I think the Rectify stuff is cool too, because it's giving back, and there's just so many local companies that are trying to get to the next level and beyond. So I think that's fun. And I think the family stuff, man, we're all just doing our thing and just kind of clicking along. So yeah, my daughter's flying into Mexico today. So that kid's all over the planet. And yeah, my son's kicking butt. My wife's doing great. So yeah, we're good, man. We're blessed. So
Well,
yeah.
where's the best place people go out and find you, connect with you, or connect with the organizations that you're part of today?
Yeah, probably hit me up on LinkedIn. That's probably the best channel that I use to reach out to me personally. And then from there, we just kind of go from there and, take some time and, get to know one another. So yeah, that's probably the best spot.
All right, my friend. Well, hey, listen, I appreciate you carving out some time to spend with me today on the podcast. You're certainly a wealth of knowledge, someone who I look up to. I appreciate the time that you give me personally, mentor, those types of things. And what a cool thing it is to have you on the show today, my man.
Yeah, back at you too, Jake. You're killing it in your own world, man. Love it. An honor, dude. Yeah, look forward to chatting some more.
All right. Take care, my brother.